500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli wrote something that would save your life if you truly understood it. He said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." But what he didn't tell you directly, what he buried in the pages of The Prince, was the most dangerous warning any man could receive about the women who will destroy you in complete silence. Right now, as you're watching this, there's a woman in your life or about to enter it who possesses a psychological profile so dangerous that Machiavelli himself would have trembled. She's not the obvious villain. She's not the screaming, dramatic type that movies portray. No, she's far more lethal than that. She's the woman who will make you feel like the most important man in the world while systematically dismantling everything you've built. She's the one who will smile as she isolates you from your friends, who will support your dreams while secretly sabotaging them, who will love you while slowly poisoning your mind against your own judgment. The terrifying truth is this: Machiavellian personalities are masters of manipulation, who possess a relative lack of affect in interpersonal relationships and a lack of concern for conventional morality. When this psychological profile combines with feminine intuition and social intelligence, you get a predator so sophisticated that by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. But here's what's even more frightening: you're biologically programmed to be attracted to exactly this type of woman. Evolution has wired your brain to pursue the very traits that will ultimately destroy you. The confidence, the mystery, the challenge, the emotional intensity, all of these are red flags disguised as green flags. If you want to protect everything you've worked for, your sanity, your success, your future, you need to understand what I'm about to reveal. Hit that like button right now, because this knowledge could literally save your life. And subscribe with notifications on, because I'm about to show you psychological patterns that 99% of men will never recognize until it's too late. Stay with me for the next 30 minutes, and I promise you'll never look at women the same way again. By the end of this video, you'll have the psychological tools to identify these dangerous women before they can sink their claws into your life. Because here's the brutal reality: the wrong woman doesn't just break your heart, she breaks your spirit, your bank account, your relationships, your career, and your faith in yourself. And she does it all while making you believe it's your fault. Let me show you exactly how this psychological warfare works. ****. Machiavelli understood something about human nature that most people refuse to acknowledge. There are individuals who view other people not as fellow human beings, but as tools to be used for their own advancement. When this mindset exists in a woman who's learned to weaponize her femininity, you get what I call the Machiavellian woman. She possesses traits of deception, manipulation, and high self-interest that can wreak havoc on your relationship and well-being. But unlike the obvious manipulator, she's learned to package these traits in ways that trigger your protective and provider instincts. Here's her psychological profile. She's charming but calculating. She's vulnerable but never truly available. She creates problems that only you can solve, makes you feel special for solving them, then creates bigger problems that require more of your resources. It's a psychological trap so sophisticated that even intelligent, successful men fall for it repeatedly. She studies you like Machiavelli studied princes. She identifies your weaknesses, your insecurities, your dreams, and your fears. Then she becomes exactly what you think you need. If you're lonely, she becomes your companion. If you're ambitious, she becomes your inspiration. If you're insecure, she becomes your validation. But it's all strategic. The most dangerous part: she genuinely believes she deserves whatever she takes from you. In her mind, your resources, your energy, your life force, it all belongs to her because she's chosen to grace you with her presence. This isn't conscious evil. It's something far more dangerous. It's entitlement, disguised as love. She operates on what I call the parasitic principle. Like a psychological parasite, she attaches herself to successful, capable men and slowly drains their resources while giving just enough back to keep them attached. She's not building a life with you. She's building a life off of you. And here's the most insidious part: she makes you complicit in your own destruction. She never forces you to do anything. Instead, she creates emotional situations where you feel compelled to choose her needs over your own. She's a master at making her problems your emergencies. But Machiavelli gave us the key to understanding her. When he wrote about the nature of power and manipulation, he said the most effective control is the kind that the controlled person doesn't recognize as control. She doesn't dominate you overtly. She makes you want to submit. Now, if you're thinking I would never fall for something like this, that's exactly what makes you vulnerable. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you the specific psychological tactics she uses that bypass your rational mind completely. The Machiavellian woman has studied male psychology, whether consciously or instinctively. She knows that men are driven by purpose, achievement, and the desire to protect and provide. She weaponizes these noble instincts against you. The first phase of her psychological warfare is what experts call love bombing. But the Machiavelli woman takes this to a level that would make professional manipulators jealous. She doesn't just shower you with attention. She studies your specific psychological needs and becomes the perfect solution to problems you didn't even know you had. She begins by making you feel chosen, not just liked or attracted to, but specifically chosen by someone who could have anyone. She drops subtle hints about other men pursuing her, mentions how she's been hurt before by men who couldn't handle her, and makes you feel like you're different from all the rest. This triggers what psychologists call the scarcity principle combined with the challenge response. Your brain interprets her selectivity as high value, and your competitive instincts kick in. You start investing more energy into winning her over, not realizing that this is exactly what she intended. During this phase, she becomes your personal drug dealer, and the drug is validation. She gives you doses of admiration, appreciation, and affection that are perfectly calibrated to your psychological needs. If you need to feel important, she makes you her hero. If you need to feel desired, she becomes insatiable for you. If you need intellectual stimulation, she becomes fascinated by your ideas. But here's the crucial detail most men miss. Her responses are slightly too perfect, too convenient, too specifically tailored to your ego. A genuine woman has her own needs, preferences, and reactions that don't always align with what you want to hear. The Machiavellian woman's responses feel amazing because they're designed to, not because they're authentic. She also begins gathering intelligence during this phase. Through seemingly innocent conversations, she learns about your finances, your family relationships, your career ambitions, your insecurities, and your past relationships. She stores all this information for later use. Creating a psychological profile, she exploits once you're emotionally invested. The love bombing phase typically lasts just long enough for you to become psychologically dependent on the emotional high she provides. She's careful not to overdo it. Too much, too fast would trigger your suspicion. Instead, she gradually increases the intensity until you're addicted to the feeling of being with her. Here's where it gets really disturbing, and why you need to pay close attention to what comes next. Once she's established this psychological dependency, she begins the second phase, which is where most men's lives start falling apart without them realizing why. She starts creating what I call emotional intermittent reinforcement. Just like a slot machine, she begins giving you random doses of the validation you've become addicted to, mixed with periods of withdrawal, confusion, and emotional distance. This creates a psychological addiction stronger than cocaine. Your brain becomes obsessed with figuring out how to get back to the emotional high of the love bombing phase, and you'll sacrifice almost anything to achieve it. Once you're psychologically hooked, she moves into what Machiavelli would recognize as the consolidation of power. She begins isolating you from your support systems while making it seem like a natural consequence of your deepening relationship. She starts by expressing subtle concerns about your friends. I just feel like Jake doesn't really support your goals, she might say. Or I notice you're always stressed after hanging out with the guys. She never directly tells you to stop seeing them, that would be too obvious. Instead, she creates emotional consequences for maintaining those relationships. Every time you spend time with friends or family, she becomes distant, moody, or creates some kind of crisis that requires your attention. Your brain starts associating time away from her with conflict and stress, while time with her when she's in a good mood feels peaceful and rewarding. She also begins inserting herself into your decision-making process. At first, it seems like she's just interested in your life and wants to support you. But gradually, you find yourself running more and more decisions by her, seeking her approval, and modifying your choices based on her reactions. This is where the silent destruction begins. She starts influencing your career decisions, your financial choices, your living situation, and your daily routine. But she does it through emotional manipulation rather than direct control. You feel like you're making your own choices, but somehow all your choices start aligning with what benefits her. The most insidious part of this phase is how she makes her needs seem urgent, while your needs become negotiable. Her problems become emergencies that require immediate attention and resources. Your problems become burdens that she'll deal with when things calm down, which they never do. She creates what psychologists call trauma bonding. She becomes both the source of your stress and your refuge from it. When she's upset with you, your world feels chaotic and wrong. When she's happy with you, you feel relief and gratitude. This emotional roller coaster creates a powerful psychological addiction now. If you're recognizing these patterns in your own life, don't panic. Recognition is the first step to freedom, but you need to understand what comes next, because this is where men often lose everything they've worked for their entire lives. During this phase, she also begins what I call reality distortion. She starts questioning your memory, your perceptions, and your judgment. When you bring up something she said or did, she either denies it happened, claims you misunderstood, or turns it around to make you the villain. This psychological technique, known as gaslighting, is designed to make you doubt your own mind. Once she's accomplished this, you become completely dependent on her version of reality, which always positions her as the victim and you as someone who needs to do more to make things right. The financial bleeding usually starts during this phase. 2. There are always emergencies, opportunities, or necessities that require your money. She's careful never to ask directly. Instead, she creates situations where offering financial help feels like the right thing to do, the loving thing to do, the only thing to do. This is where Machiavelli's warning becomes terrifyingly relevant. He wrote that the most dangerous enemies are those who appear as friends while working against your interests. The Machiavellian woman has now positioned herself as your closest ally while systematically dismantling your life from within by this phase. You're living in what I call the matrix of her reality. Your friends have been gradually pushed away or have distanced themselves because they've watched you change. Your family sees less of you, and when they do, you're often defending her behavior or making excuses for why you can't visit more often. Professionally, you're making decisions based on what will keep peace at home rather than what will advance your career. You're turning down opportunities that would require travel or time away from her. You're avoiding colleagues who might influence you to prioritize your professional growth over her emotional needs. Financially, you're bleeding money in ways that seem justifiable in isolation but are devastating in aggregate. There's always something: her car needs repairs, her family has an emergency, she needs something for work, or there's an opportunity that requires investment that she's passionate about. The most destructive part is that she makes you feel selfish for questioning any of it. When you express concern about money, she makes you feel like a miser. When you want to spend time with friends, she makes you feel like a bad partner. When you prioritize work, she makes you feel like you don't love her enough. Research shows that women with higher levels of Machiavellianism reported lower levels of relationship satisfaction. But here's the twisted part: she uses her dissatisfaction as a weapon. Nothing you do is ever enough because her dissatisfaction is a tool for extracting more resources, not a problem to be solved. She creates what I call the effort paradox. The more you sacrifice for her, the less she respects you. But the less you sacrifice, the more she punishes you. You're trapped in a psychological prison where both compliance and resistance lead to negative consequences. Your self-esteem is now completely dependent on her approval. You've internalized her voice as your inner critic. You second-guess decisions you would have made confidently before. You've lost touch with your own values, goals, and instincts. This is the point where many men realize something is wrong but feel powerless to change it. If you're at this stage, understand that you're not weak or stupid. You're the victim of sophistication, psychological manipulation that would fool anyone who wasn't specifically trained to recognize it. The silent destruction is nearly complete at this point. You're isolated, financially drained, professionally compromised, and psychologically dependent on someone who views you as a resource to be exploited rather than a partner to be cherished. But here's what she doesn't expect: that you'll learn to recognize her tactics and develop the psychological tools to break free, and that's exactly what we're going to do next. Machiavelli was a master at reading people's true intentions. Behind their public facades, if he were alive today, he would recognize the Machiavellian woman immediately by these specific behavioral patterns that most men miss completely. Red flag number 1. The victim narrative. She always has a story about how someone has wronged her. Her ex was abusive, her boss is unfair, her family doesn't understand her, her friends betrayed her. Everyone in her past has apparently failed her, and you're the first person who truly gets her. This isn't shared vulnerability, it's positioning herself as someone who deserves compensation for past wrongs. Red flag number 2. The scarcity creator. She manufactures urgency and scarcity around herself. There's always a deadline, an emergency, or a limited time opportunity that requires immediate action. She can't wait for you to think it over or discuss it with others. This pressure tactic is designed to bypass your rational process. Red flag number 3. The boundary tester. She constantly pushes against your stated boundaries in small ways to see how much you'll tolerate. She shows up unannounced when you've asked for space, spends money you've agreed to save, or brings up topics you've said you don't want to discuss. Each boundary violation is presented as loving spontaneity or passionate emotion. Red flag number 4. The information vacuum. While she gathers detailed information about every aspect of your life, she remains mysteriously vague about her own. Her past relationships ended for unclear reasons. Her financial situation is complicated. Her family relationships are complicated. And her long-term goals are always shifting. Red flag number 5. The emotional thermostat. She controls the emotional temperature of every interaction. When you're happy about something that doesn't involve her, she finds ways to dampen your mood. When you're upset about her behavior, she escalates the drama until you're focused on comforting her instead of addressing your concerns. Pay close attention to this next red flag, because it's the one that destroys more men than all the others combined. It's also the hardest one to recognize because it feels like love. Red flag number 6. The sacrifice collector. She keeps a detailed mental inventory of everything you do for her and everything she does for you, but the accounting is always skewed in her favor. She remembers every gift, every favor, every compromise you make, and she expects compound interest on all of it. Meanwhile, her contributions are inflated and your contributions are minimized. Machiavelli wrote about people who judge more by the eye than by the hand, people who focus on appearances rather than reality. The Machiavellian woman is a master of managing appearances while the reality of her behavior tells a completely different story. She presents herself as the perfect partner in public while systematically destroying your life in private. She's loving and supportive when others are watching, critical and demanding when you're alone. She builds your reputation as a couple while tearing down your individual identity. The most dangerous red flag of all is what I call the gratitude trap. She makes you feel guilty for not being grateful enough for her love, as if her choosing to be with you is such a tremendous gift that it entitles her to whatever she wants from your life. Understanding the specific psychological weapons she uses is crucial to protecting yourself. These aren't random behaviors, they're calculated tactics, designed to break down your psychological defenses and make you compliant. Tactic number 1. Emotional flooding. When you try to address legitimate concerns about her behavior, she responds with such intense emotion that you forget what you wanted to discuss and focus on managing her emotional state. Tears, anger, panic attacks, threats of self-harm, whatever it takes to derail rational conversation. Tactic number 2. The comparison trap. She regularly compares you unfavorably to other men, not to motivate you to improve, but to keep you insecure and trying to prove your worth. My ex always remembered our anniversary, or Sarah's boyfriend would never make her wait like this. These comparisons are designed to make you feel inadequate and grateful for her tolerance. Tactic 3. Future faking. She paints beautiful pictures of your future together, but only when she needs you to make sacrifices in the present. She talks about marriage when she needs financial commitment, children when she needs emotional investment, or shared dreams when she needs you to give up opportunities. Tactic number 4. The silent treatment weapon. She withdraws affection, communication, or physical intimacy as punishment for behavior she doesn't approve of. This creates anxiety and desperation in you to regain her approval, training you to avoid any actions that might displease her. Tactic number 5. Triangulation. She brings third parties into your relationship to create jealousy, competition, or confusion. She might maintain inappropriate friendships with ex-boyfriends, constantly mention attractive coworkers, or use other people's opinions to validate her position in arguments. The most sophisticated tactic is what I call the moral high ground maneuver. No matter what she's done wrong, she finds a way to position herself as the victim and you as the perpetrator. If you catch her in a lie, she's hurt that you don't trust her. If you question her spending, you're controlling and financially abusive. If you want time with friends, you're abandoning her. She's rewritten the rules of the relationship so that questioning her behavior makes you the bad guy. This is psychological warfare at its most refined. She's made it impossible for you to defend yourself without appearing to attack her. These tactics work because they exploit fundamental aspects of male psychology. Men are wired to solve problems, protect those they love, and maintain harmony in their relationships. She weaponizes these noble instincts against you. Every time you try to address a legitimate concern, she transforms it into a crisis that requires you to comfort and reassure her. You end up apologizing for bringing up your own needs and promising to be more understanding of hers. The result is that you stop advocating for yourself entirely. You learn that raising concerns leads to drama, conflict, and emotional chaos. It becomes easier to just accept whatever she dishes out and focus on keeping her happy. One of the most devastating aspects of the Machiavellian woman's silent destruction is how she systematically undermines your financial stability and professional growth. While making it seem like she's supporting your success, she starts by learning your financial situation in detail. Your income, your savings, your debts, your financial goals. She presents this as caring about your future together, but she's actually assessing your resources and planning how to access them. The financial bleeding begins subtly. There are always reasonable explanations for why she needs money, or why certain expenses are necessary. Her car breaks down, her family has an emergency, there's an investment opportunity, or she needs something for work. Each request seems justified in isolation, but here's the pattern. The financial emergencies always come at the worst possible times for you, and they always require immediate action. You can't save money because there's always a crisis that requires your resources. You can't invest in your own goals because her needs are always more urgent. She also begins influencing your spending in ways that benefit her but harm your long-term financial health. She encourages expensive dinners, vacations, and gifts that stretch your budget. She pushes for lifestyle upgrades that increase your monthly expenses. She makes you feel cheap or unloving if you express concern about money. Professionally, the destruction is even more insidious. She supports your career goals verbally while creating emotional chaos that interferes with your ability to focus on work. She creates conflicts that require your attention during important work periods. She schedules her emergencies during your crucial meetings or deadlines. She also begins isolating you from professional networks and opportunities. Networking events become sources of conflict because she's uncomfortable with you meeting new people. Business trips are problems because she can't handle being alone. Professional development opportunities are selfish because they take time away from the relationship. The most damaging professional impact is how she affects your decision-making. process, you start turning down opportunities that would require travel, relocation, or increased time commitments. You avoid taking risks that could advance your career because you need the security to support her lifestyle. Your colleagues begin to notice changes in your performance, your availability, and your attitude. You're distracted, stressed, and increasingly unreliable. You miss important events, arrive late to meetings, and seem preoccupied with personal issues. The financial destruction accelerates as your earning potential decreases while your expenses increase. You're making less money while spending more of it on her needs. Your savings are depleted, your investment plans are derailed, and your financial future becomes increasingly uncertain. But she presents all of this as temporary sacrifices for your love and your future together. The business opportunity will pay off eventually. The family emergency was unavoidable. The lifestyle expenses are investments in your happiness. The career compromises show that you prioritize your relationship over your ego. Asterisk. Breaking free from a Machiavellian woman requires understanding that you're not just ending a relationship, you're escaping from a carefully constructed psychological prison. The tactics that got you trapped will not get you free. You need a completely different approach. Step number 1. Recognize the addiction. Understand that you're not just attached to her. You're addicted to the neurochemical highs she's trained your brain to crave. The intermittent reinforcement has created a psychological dependency that will cause withdrawal symptoms when you try to break free. Expect to feel anxious, depressed, and desperate to contact her. This is normal and temporary. Step number 2. Document everything. Start keeping a private record of her behavior patterns, your conversations, and your emotional responses. Write down what she says and does, not your interpretation of it. This documentation will help you maintain clarity when she inevitably tries to gaslight you about what happened. Step number 3. Rebuild your support network. Reconnect with the friends and family members you've been isolated from. Be honest about what you've been experiencing, even if it's embarrassing. You need people who can provide emotional support and help you maintain perspective during the difficult process of breaking free. Step number 4. Secure your resources. Protect your finances, your professional relationships, and your personal assets. Change passwords, separate accounts, and document any financial exploitation. If you're living together, develop a plan for safe separation that doesn't leave you vulnerable to retaliation. Step 5. Prepare for the counterattack. When she realizes you're pulling away, she will escalate her tactics dramatically. She might attempt suicide, threaten to harm herself, claim to be pregnant, or create other emergencies designed to pull you back in. She might also try to destroy your reputation, your relationships, or your career. Prepare for this psychologically and practically. This next part is crucial. The moment you start implementing these steps, you'll face the greatest psychological challenge of your life. She will become more loving, more attentive, and more perfect than she's ever been. This is called hoovering, and it's designed to suck you back into the relationship just when you're finding the strength to leave. Step number 6. Go no contact. Complete cessation of all communication is the only way to break the psychological hold she has on you. Block her phone number, email, social media accounts, and any other means of contact. Don't read her messages. Don't respond to her attempts to reach you, and don't let mutual friends deliver messages. This will be incredibly difficult because your brain will be screaming for the neurochemical fix that only she can provide. Rationalize reasons to contact her. Convince yourself that you can maintain a friendship, or believe that you need to give her closure. All of these are lies your addicted brain is telling you. Step number 7. Rebuild your identity. You've lost touch with who you are outside of this relationship. Start reconnecting with your values, your goals, your interests, and your dreams. Make decisions based on what you want, not what will avoid conflict or please someone else. The recovery process will take time, typically 6 to 12 months to break the psychological addiction and 1 to 3 years to fully rebuild your life. But every day you stay free is a day you're reclaiming your power, your resources, and your future. Machiavelli's greatest insight wasn't about manipulation. It was about the importance of seeing reality clearly, even when that reality is uncomfortable. The man who survives the Machiavellian woman is the man who develops the psychological tools to see through deception and manipulation. Here's how you become immune to this type of predator. First, understand that genuine love is consistent, not intermittent. A woman who truly loves you doesn't create chaos in your life. She brings peace. She doesn't drain your resources. She helps you build them. She doesn't isolate you from your support system. She integrates positively with it. Second, develop what I call Machiavellian immunity, the ability to recognize manipulative behavior immediately and respond appropriately. This means trusting your instincts when something feels wrong, maintaining your boundaries even when pressured, and being willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't respect your no. Third, build a life so compelling that you're never desperate for any one person's approval or presence. When you have strong friendships, fulfilling work, financial security, and personal interests, you can't be controlled through emotional manipulation. You have too many other sources of meaning and satisfaction. Fourth, understand that high-quality women are attracted to men who have standards and boundaries. The right woman will respect your need for balance, support your goals and friendships, and contribute positively to your life. She won't require you to sacrifice your identity or your future to prove your love. The most important transformation is developing what Machiavelli called virtue, the strength and wisdom to navigate complex human relationships without being deceived or destroyed. This means being kind but not naive, generous but not exploitable, loving but not codependent. Remember Machiavelli's warning: men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Don't be fooled by what appears to be love if the actions don't match the words. Watch what she does, not what she says. Pay attention to how she treats you when she's upset, how she responds to your boundaries, and how she handles conflict. The right woman will challenge you to become better, not tear you down to build herself up. She'll add value to your life, not drain it. She'll respect your other relationships, not try to replace them. She'll support your goals, not sabotage them. If this video has opened your eyes to patterns you've been missing, if you recognize yourself in these descriptions, or if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share it. One share could save a man's entire life. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because understanding human psychology, especially the dark aspects that most people won't discuss, is crucial for protecting yourself in today's world. Leave a comment below and let me know. Have you encountered a Machiavellian woman in your life? What red flags did you miss? What advice would you give to other men? Remember, Machiavelli's ultimate lesson wasn't about becoming manipulative yourself. It was about developing the wisdom to see through manipulation and the strength to resist it. The man who understands these principles doesn't just avoid dangerous women. He attracts the right kind of woman, one who appreciates his strength, respects his boundaries, and adds genuine value to his life. Your resources, your future, and your peace of mind are too valuable to sacrifice for someone who sees you as nothing more than a means to her ends. Choose wisely, because the wrong choice doesn't just cost you a relationship, it costs you everything you've worked to build. The prince who ignores Machiavelli's warnings loses his kingdom. The man who ignores these warnings loses his life. Don't be that man. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay strong. And remember, the right woman will never require you to destroy yourself to prove your love for her.